All right, everybody, welcome in to another episode of the NFL Seekers podcast. Today, we'll each be ranking our top 10 offensive linemen in the 2024 NFL Draft. We'll be splitting it up between our top five offensive tackles and our top five interior offensive linemen. We'll each do our own top five and kind of compare against each other. So, should be really fun, should be very insightful episode. Honestly, this offensive line class is a legendarily deep offensive line class. We could do top 15 and there'd still be a lot of quality guys we'd be talking about. So excited to talk about the big uglies. This was like our first episode that we did last year in the draft season, so gonna be exciting.
Dude, I hate the big uglies. They're so ugly. But they're insane. But yeah, this is a freaking awesome offensive line class. A lot of people have been saying we might see a record broken for the most offensive linemen taken in the first round in NFL history, which I think it will, because I mean this is an insane offensive line class, man. We got some top, and it's kind of crazy because we might have the top three fall out of not even be a first 6-7 pick. They might fall all the way to, well, I mean, I think 7. We can lock one in at the Tennessee Titans, but I mean, we might not see one of these guys taken till pick 7, and we still might break a record. And it's crazy, crazy talented class, man. I'm super excited to dive into it.
Yeah, so many of these guys have a lot of upside. There's definitely going to be a run somewhere in the first round where a few of these linemen go in a row, and it's going to be exciting. A lot of very versatile guys we'll talk about that could honestly, be top tackles or guards. So it'll be interesting to see where each of us have these guys kind of ranked and where we have these guys ending up positionally. But do you want to just get into the rankings because I feel like we're going to have a lot to talk about.
Yes, sir.
All right, well, we'll start off with the one. So we'll start off with the top tier guy. Let's go to your number one offensive tackle. We'll start with the tackles.
It's gonna be all 6'8", 322-pound Mr. Joe Alt from Notre Dame. If we're just talking about a guy that you just there's very little flaws in his game, man. I mean, from his hand usage to his footwork to his core power to his strength to his run blocking to his pass blocking. Joe Alt kind of just has it all. And it's hard. It's when I was picking through Joe Alt's film, it's really hard to find any kind of fault in it. There's little to no fault. He's a super clean prospect. Kind of a cool little backstory on him. So he actually never even played offensive line until he got to Notre Dame. He was a former tight end and quarterback in high school, and he ultimately transitioned to offensive tackle for the Fighting Irish when he went to college. And man, he's been super clean. So I mean, Joe Alt has only given up 1 sack in the last 2 years. He is graded at an elite, overall grade of 90 plus in back-to-back years. And yeah, when you watch this guy and you watch his hands and you watch his first kick stop, his kick step, and the power in the run game, the smoothness in his hips as he's just really manhandling these edge defenders. It's just brilliant stuff.
Yeah, I mean that's a good transition into my number one offensive tackle. It's not very bold, but you can't really just draw up a better, more clean offensive line prospect. He really does feel perfect in every single area. You're hard pressed to pick and to try to find weaknesses. You really are. He had a damn near perfect season this year in 2023, 90.7 PFF grade, literally just dominated everyone across from him. Last year, 91.4 PFF grade, like you said, didn't allow a sack last year. And then in 2021, he only allowed 3 sacks, and he started the season off as a tight end, which is just a crazy, crazy just statistic. And it shows you that he's a great mover. It's rumored that the Chargers could take him at 5, and you can tell that he's just a really good athlete, a very flexible athlete, and the flexibility issues won't be an issue moving to the right side. So you could put him anywhere on any scenario, and he's going to be a dominant offensive tackle. And he really is kind of just a perfect prospect, towering and just so clean as a pass rush or pass protector. And you love to see it.
Yeah, just absolute monster of a human being, Mr. Joe Alt is. And yeah, if you draw up a perfect offensive tackle, on a board, it's gonna look damn similar to Joe Alt. And there's just not a lot to talk on him, or even critique on him, because the tape is so clean, man. It's all so clean, and it's like he comes from a football family. His dad was a former NFL player, And you can just tell it's been in the family, it's run through the family, and yeah, it was hard. There's some other guys that I really like, but it was too hard to find. Other guys I could pick. Be a little picky at at their faults. Where Joe Walt, there's none. There really is none.
And would you say he's a generational offensive tackle prospect and maybe the only one in this class if he is?
I don't know if I'm going to say generational. I kind of put like Penny Sewell into that generational type offensive tackle prospect. Um, I don't know if he has any of that wow factor like a Penny Sewell or like a Quentin Nelson coming out of the draft. I don't know if I don't know if I see that, but what I see is a future All Pro, a Pro Bowl type guy who I put him in. There's few people I put in that generational type category. Joe Alt would just be the tier below. He'd be that blue chip.
Yeah, that's the thing about Alt is he's just such a sure thing. He's such a safe prospect. You can just plug him in and you know he'll be an all pro type tackle for sure. I, I don't know if I'm going to call him generational yet. I'll definitely need to um, get closer to the draft to make that call, but he's close. He's a damn good tackle prospect. And with that, I am interested to see who your second tackle is because there's a lot of kind of debate going on right now. So who is your offensive tackle two?
You know who I just fell a little bit more in love with? It's not going to be the consensus offensive tackle two, but my offensive tackle two is going to be Mr. Taliese Fuaga. And this is a mean human being, man. This is a guy who is looking for contact. He is running down the field looking to pancake anyone he can. And he's the most dominant run blocker in this draft. Taliese Fuaga, right tackle from the Oregon State Beavs. He is just insane, man. I wouldn't call him the cleanest prospect in this draft, but I would call him the meanest, and I'd call him the guy who wants to find contact, who is looking to make that next block, and he is the best run blocker in this class. And Talisi Fuaga, man, he is just he. I feel like I can see him being something really really special, given the right system, given the right run power scheme. With what team drafts him, like I mean, like a these obviously won't fall, but like a Baltimore Ravens type scheme, something where they're just a run heavy team, a Baltimore, San Francisco, hell, even the run first Chiefs would be an insane team for him with the running behind, having Isaiah Pacheco tell him. But yeah, Fuaga, I mean, it's funny I say, he's not the cleanest pass blocker, but Taliese Fuaga gave up 0 sacks his entire collegiate career, which is just insane. And I call him a better run blocker than a pass blocker, but he gave up 0 sacks. And, he is graded at an elite grade for 3 straight years. 2021, 85.6, 2022, 80.4, and 2023, 88.2, which is his best grade. And it's just ridiculous stuff, man. He's just a hard-nosed guy looking for pancakes. He is the definition of a big ugly.
Yeah, I mean, not to copy you, but you said that perfectly. You set him on the right side at right tackle, and he's just a set in stone dominant right tackle for a long, long time. And he's just vicious at all times. He's a vicious blocker. It's visible. You can see he's always pissed off, always finishing his blocks. He's a dominant mover in that run game. That run game is really where he can like elevate a team and be like a transcendent tackle for you. So he's gonna go high. He's definitely gonna be a valuable tackle just because of that mentality, that wrestler mentality. He wants to finish you into the ground, and he handles power really, really well. Like a powerful, smart pass rushers. He handles really well. Latu, he really just kind of dominated in the UCLA game, and he also dominated in the Senior Bowl. So he just handles players like that really well. And Latu's a very good, powerful rusher. So you love that he can hold his own on that right side. As a rookie, he'll have a high floor because he's just. I mean, honestly, that's kind of the thing with Fuagas. He has such a high floor that I can't fault you for having him as your offensive tackle too, because I'm pretty confident that he'll come into the NFL and just be dominant like that. That Mekhi Becton impact as a run blocker. He really is that.
Yeah, 100%. Super exciting prospect. I really like to see him go to a run heavy team. I mean, like formerly, I think the Titans obviously will change a lot this offseason, but like that Derrick Henry, you pound the rock 30 times a game behind this type of guy, and he gets stronger every single run. So, super exciting prospect. Can't wait to see where he ends up.
Yeah, he's very consistent too. Someone you can just really count on. And I guess the argument and kind of conversation right now is between Fuaga and Olu Fashanu as OT2. And I'll get on to my OT2. I do have Olu Fashanu, and it's a hard conversation because they're honestly polar opposites. Olu specializes in the passing game. And he's not really as vicious in the run game. He's kind of the opposite of Fuaga in that sense is he doesn't finish his blocks with a vengeance, and that is kind of the turnoff with Olu and why I could totally see you having Fuaga as your offensive tackle too. It's hard. I think I just personally value pass blocking a little bit more. I think it's too valuable in this league, and I just love Olu's pass blocking like sets and technique just too much. He's too clean and too quick in his back steps, and he's just a great mover. So it's hard to compare the two. I get Charles Cross vibes with Olu though. I just think he's a really high floor dominant pass protector day one in the league, but he will need to work on that finisher mentality, that finishing the run game, being more bought into the run game, and it's somewhere he could definitely work on. He only had a 70.5 run block grade for PFF. He had an 88.4 pass block grade though, which is obviously incredible and something that is very valuable. So it is a hard kind of conversation, hard to compare the two, gauge, who should go higher. But yeah, I like you having Fuaga for that mentality. I kind of value it more, so I'm kind of scared off on this one, but I really do value pass protecting too. So
Yeah, I love it. And that's a great transition to my offensive tackle number 3, who is going to be Olu Fashanu. And yeah, I mean, you just said it perfectly. There's a lot of Charles Cross vibes with Olu Fashanu. That's kind of the prospect he feels like. And Charles Cross is no slouch, man. He's been fantastic over there in Seattle. But yeah, I mean, Olu Fashanu, if you want to be nitpicky, yeah, it's the run blocking that is what ultimately dropped him to my offensive tackle 3. But it's funny because I mean, there's a real actually debate even for offensive tackle 1 where a lot of people actually have Olu Fashanu as their OT1. And it's just because he really is truly just an incredible pass blocker. I mean, there's only one game where a lot of people will be nitpicky at him, and it was versus Ohio State, where a few times they got the better of Olu. But for that to for saying that, I mean, Olu Fashanu gave up 0 sacks his entire collegiate career as well. Um, it's ridiculous, man. I mean, this is a guy who's played over 1,300 snaps in college football and has given up a total of 0 sacks his entire career and only 1 quarterback hit, which is just incredible. So I mean, Olu Fashanu is a guy who I see kind of has maybe a little bit more upside and is going to be a little bit more of a development prospect than a guy like Joe Walt, who's just more of a clean guy who just you know what you're getting out of Joe Walt. And Olu, you feel like the ceiling maybe hasn't even been quite reached, which is so exciting for a prospect like Olu, and just the size and the talent is all there too.
yeah, I mean, if you were looking at way too early mock drafts, like last offseason, you would have seen Olu Fashanu ahead of Alton pretty much every single mock draft. He was supposed to be a, surefire top 10 pick, and he still might be. But that's just showing, how highly he's been thought of for a while now. And yeah, you brought up the Ohio State game. It feels like everyone talks about that Ohio State game when you bring up Fashanu, but I feel like watching the tape, that was the first game I watched when I watched Fashanu because I was interested, and I feel like he actually did pretty good on film. He looks good. There definitely was some pressures that he allowed, but for the most part, I honestly thought he looked good. And if that's the worst tape that he is out there, then I am pretty confident in him as well as Fuaga. Both that's just insane. Both of them haven't allowed a sack in their collegiate career playing in pretty much elite high tier schools. That's just crazy.
Yeah, absolutely wild. Just polarizing prospects.
All right, with that will go on to my offensive tackle 3. Already talked about him, but Taliese Fuaga, I don't want to talk down on him because it's just impossible to compare the two. They're it's apples and oranges. They're different types of prospects. They have different types of strengths. I think I just value pass protecting a little bit more, and Stores values that asshole mentality a little bit more. You can't argue with either one. They're both gonna be great in the NFL. Let's be real. And with that, let's go into your offensive tackle 4.
Another guy I'm really excited to talk about who, is kind of just a little bit. I mean, it's not like he's forgotten about, but I mean, just a true monster of a human. Another guy who's played right tackle. He is an absolute mauler in the run game. Some guys will say he's better than Taliese Fuaga in the run game. But yeah, JC Latham, all 6'6", 335 pounds of this guy. He's a former 5-star coming to Alabama, and you know what kind of guys Alabama breeds, just monstrous humans. And Alabama's offensive line is like 95% bigger than most NFL offensive line, and JC Latham is because of that. I mean, this guy is just a monster. And again, a guy who, is more of that mauler. He's a better run blocker than he is pass defender. But another guy who's just, you get a little bit of footwork, you get a little bit of cleaning up with the hands, and this guy could be an all pro. He kind of reminds me a little bit of like DJ Fluker, a former Alabama player drafted the Chargers. Gives me eerily similar vibes to him, but with a lot more upside and a lot cleaner tape than a DJ Fluker. But I don't know, Dan. This guy, he's a monster, man. And you watch him, he's dominant. He's a dominant run blocker.
Yeah, he's got a lot of quality college experience under his belt in at Alabama and the SEC. He's ready to start now. He's a very experienced guy. He has over 870 snaps the last 2 seasons on that right tackle position at Alabama, and he is the strongest player in the draft. That's the appeal with JC Latham, is he straight up is the strongest player in the draft. His hands are shotguns. They pop you whenever he shoots his hands to block. He literally shocks defenders with how strong he is. He's my knock on him. I'll be honest. He's my OT 5. My knock is I'm just a little bit worried about his movement compared to a Mims. It's getting nitpicky when you're comparing Mims versus Latham. They're both incredible prospects in their own right, but I do think he's just a little bit clunkier, a little bit slower of a mover, a little bit less potential of surely a higher floor though, because he's one of the higher floor prospects in this draft. And I think whatever team drafts him, if the Bengals or Rams get JC Latham, I think he's a plug and play right tackle, and he's going to be a stud there for a long, long time. And I'm not really worried about JC at all.
No, neither am I. And yeah, I think JC Latham, 21 years young. He's gonna go into the NFL, and he's gonna be a dominant run blocker. I do worry about him getting beat on the edge by, quicker, twitchier moving edge rushers at the next level. And yeah, I mean, once he gets those hands on you, like you said, they're like shotguns, man. I mean, once he gets a hold of you, it's over. But I do worry about him, versus the more speed, bendy, twitchy edge rushers being able to get around him at the next level, because he's a little clunky and he's a little slower. But man, you can clean that up. He's gonna be different. He's gonna be different at the next level.
And just a super solid, consistent guy. His PFF grades over the last 3 years, 75, 75.7, and then 81.9 this year. So slowly improving every year, just super consistent. He had a 79.6 run block grade, 81.7 pass block grade. That's who he is, just very consistent all around the board, strength in every aspect. Doesn't really have a weakness other than just, being a little bit slower than some of these quick edge rushers. But anything else you want to say in JC before I go into my number 4?
No, I know your number 4 is. I want to hear it. I want to hear why he is above JC Latham. I'm excited.
Yes, so my number 4 will be Amarius Mims out of Georgia. If you were to chisel an offensive lineman build from the gods, it is Amarius Mims. Like, let's just read off his measurables. First of all, he is 6'7", 340, and if you just watch him and see the way he moves, he doesn't really look like he's that size. He doesn't look like he's a brick shit house of a human. He's just a monster, really, and he is far from a sure thing. So again, it's hard to compare him to Latham because they're almost like opposites. He has 12 career starts under his belt, kind of due to injuries mostly, and kind of being buried in that Georgia depth chart. They've been churning out NFL pro offensive linemen for a while now. So he finished last season like incredibly. Like, he was looking like one of the better offensive tackle prospects we've seen. He was in top 10 mock drafts for 2024 as well, coming into the season. But he ended the season off with an injury again and just can't fully get right and fully get healthy. But you can just see it with the guy. He's a freak and has all the potential in the world. Just the way he moves, the his consistency in the run game and pass block game. His pass set is beautiful. His pass protection is really just great. I think the only really knocks on him are his injuries, experience, and just his polishedness. Really, he just needs to be a little more polished, get some more games under his belt. But that's his only flaw, and I think NFL coaches are going to be confident that they can really work with this guy and really help him reach that potential because he has so much.
Yeah, no. And you hit the nail on the head when it came to, this guy is just the immeasurables are what get you super excited. I mean, you don't see guys that are built like this very often at all. I mean, it's a little ridiculous. I mean, 6'7", 340 pounds, and he actually moves very fluidly for a guy who's 340 pounds. And yeah, I mean, really with JC or sorry, excuse me, Amarius Mims. Yeah, it's little tape to go off of. It's not much you're going off of. You're banking on the athleticism, you're banking on the size. And yeah, I mean, like you said, I mean, the Georgia Bulldogs are just a bigger, different type of offensive lineman. That's what they produce. These guys are just different. And yeah, there's not too much you can watch on him because there's just not too much film on him. But I mean, the raw athletic, you know, profile, it's all there. And for an NFL team, it may be a little bit of scary. It may be scary to draft him, but if you hit on this guy, I mean, this could be, an all pro type tackle. This could be your Orlando Brown. I kind of, from the little I watched of him, I kind of had a player profile of Evan Neal. Kind of reminded me of Evan Neal a little bit on his tape. But yeah, I mean, if you're hitting on this guy, it's the sky's the limit for his potential. But that's
And I
that's
like
also the scary thing because I feel like the floor, or sorry, the ceiling for this guy is all the way up here, but the floor is very low too.
Yeah, and it's that's another reason it's hard to compare him to Latham because I feel like they're opposites in that sense. He has, all the ceiling in the world, but yeah, his floor is a little bit scarier to start day one. Latham, you can be confident. You can plug him in day one and he'll be honestly a very reliable. So kind of depends on what team you are. If they're the Bengals and you need him to just start day one, then maybe Latham is that guy. And it really is preference. I guess I just had Mims pushed up with the athleticism, the upside, the build. It's just too exciting for me. I do think he's going to end up going pretty high in the draft because one of these teams will be confident that they can work with him. I could honestly see him going 7 to the Titans just because I could see like a brilliant offensive line coach like Callahan just falling in love with him and just betting on the upside. So really love Mims as a prospect. 81.2 pass block grade as well. So even with the limited reps, he's still producing. So love to see it with the Amarius Mims.
Yeah, just an incredible prospect. Probably one of the highest ceiling players in this entire draft, but also, or yeah, one of the highest ceiling players, but also one of the lowest floors. So it'll be interesting. I mean, you're gonna hit a home run with this guy, or you're gonna strike out. So I feel like you're gonna get one of two outcomes. And if you're the team that's brave enough to pick him in the first round, and you might weigh the rewards or risk it all and get nothing. So it's gonna be fun.
All right, and we'll move on to our OT5 for both of us. We already talked about Amarius Mims for you, JC Latham
Yep.
for me, and we covered it pretty well. I think we both kind of value things a little bit differently, but it's the same process. It just depends on what you need, really. But anything else you want to say on those two?
No, no, let's get on to the interior, boys.
All right, yeah, we'll get on to the interior offensive lineman, and then we'll end it off with our honorable mentions, just a few honorable mentions. But who is your number one interior offensive lineman?
Pretty sure it's gonna be, consensus interior one for most of us and most of the NFL. It is Mr. Jackson Powers Johnson, as we love to say on this show. Danny's former teammate, Jackson Powers Johnson. Dan would be lying if he said he didn't go up a couple of reps against this guy. Dan didn't have to go wrestle him as well. Danny's getting his butt kicked all over the field from this dude when Danny was a senior and he was a freshman. So 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 Dan knows this guy a little bit better than anyone, but I mean, for an interior offensive lineman prospect, he's fun, man. He is he, every highlight you see of this guy, he's the definition of a pancake guy. He loves pancakes. He wants as many pancakes as in the morning as he can get. you see this guy at IHOP every single day, bro, because that's just what the pancakes he's giving out. And it's just fun, man. He is a 330-pound interior offensive lineman. He plays best at center. He actually won the award for the best center in all of college football. And the tape is clean, man. It's clean, it's flawless, it's perfect. I feel like he's kind of bust proof, to be honest with you. I feel like you know what you're getting out of Jackson Powers Johnson, and it's just a dominant interior offensive lineman that can play guard, that can play center. He can play all three spots in the interior, and you're gonna get a bruiser, a mauler, a mean guy. So exciting player. You watched him down at Mobile, giving out pancakes there. It's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, a lot to say on Jackson Powers Johnson. I don't even know where to start. But first of all, he's a highlight reel of a blocker, which you can't say often. You can't say that you're excited to watch tape on offensive linemen very often. But he really is one of those guys. He's a weapon for your offense. Another thing you can't say often with offensive linemen. He really is a weapon as a mover, as just a puller for your offense. Very similar to Jason Kelsey. I think Jason Kelsey is a very good comp for him. They're very similar builds that again, brick shithouse, fire hydrant type of build, just very stocky and just packs a punch and just has so much power. I think Frank Ragnow is another really good comp, and he's the best center in the NFL. I think he's going to have that impact really instantly. Day one, he could be a great guard too. But yeah, he finishes every block with a vengeance. He's a pissed off guy. He really does try to finish every defender into the ground during the play, and you really see it. He's a very you can see that he loves football. First of all, he has very high football IQ. You see him on screens pointing his running backs, downfield, just running with them, having fun. He's just a football player. He's a baller. He's got that wrestling background. Like you said, I went to high school with him, so I know he wrestled. He has that, which you love to see. First of all NFL interior linemen that wrestled are going to be good. That's just a statistic at this point, and he started both ways as a freshman, like you said. He's our best offensive and defense player. He started for Oregon at defensive tackle as a freshman in their bowl game, which is just crazy. So he's just a freak. Honestly, my highest graded center probably ever, because he's definitely a little bit higher than Tyler Linderbaum for me and a little bit higher than Creed Humphrey for me. So he's that type of guy, and don't need to talk about him for too much more.
Dan, well, just one last question. How high do you think he could get drafted?
I think what we did in a mock draft recently is the highest 12 to the Broncos, because they have Lloyd Cushenberry as a free agent, like a team like the Broncos or maybe the Colts at 15, who Ryan Kelly is a free agent next year, that they could plan on. But he could go high because he could be like the best guard in this class too easily. So I would say around 12 to 20 is his range.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think that's a good range for him. But yeah, this guy, he's gonna be fun. He's gonna be a household name probably come Sundays. He's gonna turn into that Jason Kelsey type of center where everyone knows who he is.
100%. He had an 84.3 PFF grade this year, 84.1 last year. He had a 90.6 pass block grade, 85.2 run block grade. Just a stud all around. He can do it all. But with that, do you want to get on to your number two interior offensive lineman?
Yes, that's going to be Mr. Troy Fautanu from the Washington Huskies. Probably one of the most versatile linemen in this entire class. A guy who played tackle at Washington, but really projects to be a better, offensive guard at the next level. But a guy that I have no problem with saying he could probably play all five positions on the line. So that versatility is just unmatched. 6'4", 317 pounds. He's a true junior. And yeah, I mean, this guy, has 3 years of starting experience. He's given up 3 sacks his entire collegiate career, and just a super super fun prospect. A better pass blocker than he is run blocking. I feel like he definitely can improve. He can get a little bit meaner. That's kind of why we project him to go into the interior. I think it's going to help him out a lot more. I don't think he's quick and twitchy and fast enough and has the hands to really probably play outside at the next level. I feel like he might be a little bit too slow, too short of arms, but you put him in the middle and I think he's going to be dominant, man. I think that's his best spot. I think that's where he's going to thrive.
Yeah, I mean, you look at his PFF splits: 88.2 pass block grade, 61.9 run block grade. At that left tackle position, that just screams guard. He really is like a perfect projection at guard, because you can see it. You can see that he could be one of the best guards in the league instantly. confident that he's the best guard in this class outside of Jackson Powers Johnson. And yeah, I think it's just an easy, smooth projection. Troy Fautanu, two guard, even though he was no slouch as a left tackle at Washington. That's the most like impressive part to his like his resume really. And something cool that the Pac-12 did is they had their players vote for all their awards at the end of the year, and for the best offensive lineman award in the Pac-12, they actually had the players vote, and it was Troy Fautanu. And I mean, just reading off some of the offensive linemen that are in the draft this year in the Pac-12, Taliese Fuaga, Jackson Powers Johnson, Troy Fautanu, Jordan Morgan. There's some good offensive linemen in the Pac-12 that could have got that award. So that is some high praise from his peers, really, and that is some optimism for his just career, and he's an exciting prospect. I'm confident he's going to be a very, very, very good guard.
Yeah, 100%. It'll be super fun. And I mean, playing left tackle for, Michael Penix, who has quite a long windup, to be honest with you. I don't feel like Michael Penix is the quickest thrower by any means, and holding down that left side and having an elite pass blocking grade is no slouch. So, I think obviously with his size and his arm length, he's going to project better, and he's going to be an offensive guard in the next level. But yeah, he'll be a damn good one. And a guy that can really be, your swing tackle in a pinch, kind of like a guy like the Chargers have, maybe a little bit different build. Um, don't even know my own Chargers linemen's names because I freaking blank because all I have is draft players on my name or on my mind. But
Slater,
gosh,
Pipkins, I don't know.
no, freaking guard from Georgia. Sawyer, Jamari Sawyer.
Oh,
Brain fart over here. Oh my gosh, I can't think because I just got draft. I don't think about my favorite team. I think about draft prospects during this time But yeah, a Jamari Sawyer who can really plug and play wherever you need the guy. I mean, left tackle, right tackle, left guard, right guard. It doesn't matter. Center in a pinch. But just a guy who's ultra versatile like that.
yeah, I like that we both have him as a guard and put him as our IOL two. I really like him, and I'm confident that he's going to be a very good guard. So, do you want to get into your interior offensive lineman three?
Yeah, a guy who I really, really, really like, Zach Frazier, going to be my offensive tackle, interior offensive tackle three, who is a center. If it wasn't for this guy breaking his leg, yeah, I think he'd be a lock in the first round. I really do. I think he's one of those cleaner prospects. I think you can kind of lock him in as like a Tyler Linderbaum, Creed Humphrey type of guy, a former wrestler. Like you said, former wrestler. That's all you need to know. If these guys wrestled, they're gonna be dogs. And Zach Frazier is one of those dogs. And yeah, he did have a pretty brutal leg injury. The medicals I think are gonna check out. I know it was a clean snap. I think he should be recovering better than like an ACL or an MCL or something like that. So it was a clean break on his leg. And that's ultimately why. I mean, we're starting to see the hype rise on him a little bit. I think we're seeing him bottom end of the first round, more of an early day two type of guy, but just incredible, man. I mean, just so clean. I mean, the grades are there. The pass blocking grades elite. The run blocking grades elite. The hand movement is great. The fighting off twitchy defenders is great. There's just not a lot that scares me with this guy. Just a really clean center prospect.
Yeah, I mean you summed it up perfectly. With Frazier, he really is like the perfect, most well-rounded center prospect, and he seems like a Creed Humphrey type of prospect. And I am really kind of gaining steam on him, and I'm really okay with him in the back end of the first round. I love the fit, like the Niners, just completely filling into that center spot and being their center for the next decade. Honestly, I think he's that type of center, just insanely solid, insanely consistent and well-rounded all around. Can do it all. 77.9 pass block grade, 73.2 run block grade. He's had 77.5 grade 2021, 80.8 grade in 2022, and a 74.5 grade before getting hurt this year. So you love to see the consistency with Zach, and I am pretty confident he's just going to be a good, solid center. I do have him as my number five interior offensive lineman.
Yeah, let's just maybe this might raise the grade for you. Four-time heavyweight state champion wrestler.
Wow. In West Virginia or where?
That's a good.
Does
Where
not
did
say.
he? Let's see. Fairmont High School. collegiate career. Where's Fairmont High School? From from Fairmont High School. I don't. Let's see.
No, that's very impressive though. I didn't know
Yeah,
if it was in like Iowa or something, but that is very, very impressive.
I
I
think
love
it
to see
might
that.
have been Virginia. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. But yeah, four-time heavyweight wrestler, man. That's who I want on my interior. That's who I want blocking for my quarterback. Crossing my fingers, he may follow the Chargers in the second round. He is gaining steam really quick. But yeah, just an ultra clean. The size is there, the body leverage. And that's what these wrestlers know. They have the leverage. They have their body leverage, their hand movements, their quick twitchy feet, shedding off guys. It's something that's built and instilled into them, and it really does make them better lineman prospects. That's what you want to see. That's what you want to see from your interior lineman. They have the background.
Yeah, I am very confident he's going to be a very good stout center as well. And that let's go on to my interior offensive line three, and it is going to be Graham Barton out of Duke, who is like a copy and paste analysis of Troy Fautanu because he started 3 seasons now at Duke at left tackle, and he project you can just see it with him. He projects perfectly as a guard. He just looks like a guard. He has that look and build, and I'm pretty confident that Graham could be. I mean, he started his career in 2021 as center before moving to tackle, or actually started at 2020 at center and moved to tackle in 2021. But very experienced, just consistent player at left tackle, and it's a hard thing to do is be a good, consistent left tackle. He was a all ACC conference left tackle for the last 3 years, and just a really good rare athleticism. He has great movement skills on the inside, especially. I can just project him being like a star center, star guard, really anywhere in the interior. But he's no slouch as a tackle as well. So I do think Graham's going to be one of my guys in this class. He is also one of those guys that does finish blocks with bad intentions. He really loves throwing people into the ground, which is something I love and something I value. And I think NFL teams will value this guy. I could see him in the back end of the first round as well. Niners, Chiefs, could definitely start for them really anywhere. So I like him as one of the more versatile offensive linemen in this class, and I think he's going to go pretty high because of it.
Yeah, copy and paste Troy Fautanu. You said that all just flawlessly. A guy that just barely. I felt really bad leaving Graham Barton out of my top five. I just don't really know whether I love. I just don't know. I don't know. I guess I just don't really envision. I mean, I do envision his role, but I don't know. I don't feel like he was very elite at anything. And that was kind of my knock on him. Um, but he is just going to be solid. And he's just a guy that just barely, he would have been my sixth of any, whether you want to plug him in at offensive tackle or interior lineman. But yeah, just a guy like Troy Fautanu, who I felt maybe just didn't flash as much as I would have liked to see, and I didn't fall in love with him and didn't really project him to be elite at anywhere. But I mean, he's an awesome prospect and a guy just barely didn't make my list.
Yeah, and you look at his PFF splits. He had a 78.2 pass block grade this year, 71.2 run block grade with a 75.9 total grade. He had an 88.2 grade in 2022, which is really impressive. Had a dominant season last year, but yeah, like Graham as a prospect, I am pretty confident he'll fill in nicely somewhere and be a very nice versatile piece for them. But with that, do you want to go into your interior offensive lineman four?
Yeah, a guy who, in my opinion, would have been a top 15 pick, Zak Zinter from the University of Michigan. Just an incredible interior offensive lineman prospect. A guy who was a former five-star coming into Michigan. Another guy with a wrestling background history. And just a really exciting, polarizing prospect. He did get a pretty bad injury, and that's kind of why his draft stock is all over the board. I mean, I'm seeing him fall as far as the fifth round in some draft in some mock drafts. And it's just crazy to me because if this guy didn't get hurt, I literally see him being one of the top interior offensive lineman prospects. I get there's an injury scarce there. We don't know if he's ever going to recover and be the exact same athlete as he was. So the medicals are the biggest concern. But if this guy hits, man, he's gonna be elite. He's gonna be a difference maker on Sundays. I'm just gonna tell you that. But yeah, 3-year starter at the University of Michigan. improved every single year in his overall grades. Coming into 2023, I think it was going to be his best season. He ended up getting hurt, didn't allow a single sack this year before he got hurt. 2 sacks in 2022, 1 sack in 2021. A 75 run blocking grade, a 73 pass blocking grade, zone grade, gap grade, both elite. Just an incredible prospect who I think is going to be a mauler. 6'6", 322 pounds. I think you could play him at tackle in a pinch if you needed to, but just going to be a true mauler in the run game, and a really, I mean, another guy who has shotguns his hands. Once he gets his hands on you, it's over, especially from the interior.
Yeah, super reliable, consistent interior offensive lineman. I definitely do like him. He's my interior offensive lineman 10. It is hard to, gauge with the injury and where he's kind of projected to be drafted right now. I am very okay with where he's currently being projected to go at like the mid to late rounds. I think he's a great dart throw to in a good situation to develop and maybe plug in a year or two when he's fully healthy and ready in that system. I think he's a perfect developmental guard. In that Chandler Zavala, Natani Muti role, in that type of mold. That's where I see him. I see like a Christian Mahogany as well, like another guy who's a highly regarded prospect who is coming off an injury, so he is gonna go later and just be a great value. I see them as similar guys, but yeah, really like Zach, really just consistent, solid guy that you can be confident has a low floor, or sorry, a high floor if he is healthy.
So he's going to get drafted by the Chiefs and be an All Pro in a year.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah. Let's just lock that in now. Chiefs take him in the 5th round. First 2 seasons, All Pro, locking it in.
100%. The league is over.
Yeah, but this guy, I really like Zak Zinter. I mean, I wish he broke his tibia and his fibula and had to be taken to the hospital, obviously, in a game for surgery, and that kind of has derailed him. And I mean, I think he will recover. I think he will be taken by the Chiefs, and I think he will become an All Pro, which is just very typical of what the Chiefs will do.
Yeah, hard to argue with that. Chiefs, Cowboys, or Eagles. He's one of the three. He's going to be an all-pro in that situation.
Yeah, but just super fun prospect. It's too bad what happened to him, but a guy, whether the medicals check out and he can recover fully from that, is going to be a difference maker.
All right, with that, let's get on to my interior offensive lineman number 4. Someone I'm really excited to talk about. Christian Haynes out of Uconn. He's another guy who's built like a complete brick shit house of a man. He's very compact build as well, very strong base. He's another guy that wrestled in high school, and you can just tell he plays with that edge. He finishes, with that pissed off mentality as well, that wrestling mentality. And yeah, he's just got that low center of gravity, really good understanding of just leverage and just really strong base, incredibly strong base. So strong that in the Senior Bowl he enraged Jordan Jefferson, LSU defensive tackle, so much that he threw his helmet at him. And Christian was saying, if you're scared, go to church. And it was a pretty funny moment. Christian's definitely that guy. He's definitely got that
I
dog.
think I locked him into the 1st round of the Spirit.
Yeah, that moment solidified him as IOL 4 for me for sure. Should be higher, honestly.
Honestly, yes, he should be higher. This guy, coming from a little bit, lesser competition, but when you come from lesser competition, what do you want to see? Domination. This guy is an absolute beast. And yeah, what he did to Jordan Jefferson in the combine might have just damn near put him in the 1st round, put Jordan Jefferson undrafted. And yeah, he said, if you scared, you need to go to church. He yelled that at him after he after he just absolutely dominated that rep. And he goes, "Oh, by the way, I won that rep." That was just, and from that moment, Dan and Stores fell in love with a prospect and is now, borderline 1st round guy. But yeah, I mean, a guy elite. I mean, elite in every single run blocking 80, pass blocking 82, zone grade 89, true pass blocking set 74. Just guy, he obviously played lower level competition, went into Mobile, dominated, played great. He actually played really good next to Tyler Guyton. And a lot of teams are like, ooh, that would be fun to see those two paired up because they had incredible communication with each other. They both dominated Mobile. But yeah, super fun player. And yeah, like you already transitioned to it. Great transition into my interior offensive lineman number 5. But yeah, just a really fun guy, a guy that can really play any of the three interior spots too.
Yeah, he's got a fantastic anchor as a pass protector, which is something I really love in that interior. He's so compact and strong, and as a pass protector, he really does have an anchor, and that's valuable. I project him honestly as like a star stud center because of that anchor. I think he could be a really good pass protecting, moving center, and I think that's his best position. He was playing that at Senior Bowl, and I think a lot of teams are gonna like him there. And yeah, his PFF splits, he had an 80.2 grade this year, 83.9 last year, and he had 82.5 pass block grade, 80.1 run block grade. So another guy who's incredibly just consistent, well-rounded, all around good blocker. He had an 89.2 zone grade as well. So, zone blocking teams will love that out of him. And he's just a good mover, a good puller. And I really am excited about him. I think he's going to be an electric guard or center.
Preach, preach to the Christian Haynes. That I preach what he says, and that's all.
Yeah, the biggest dog in this class that anyone will talk about today. But with that, we'll go on to my interior offensive lineman 5, someone we already talked about as well. Just an insanely solid center. I guess just the injury scares me off a little bit, but this is still kind of just where the consensus has him. I still am high on Frazier just as a player in general. I think he's going to be a really good starter, and I'm not really worried about the injury because I think he'll easily be ready by like training camp. So not worried about Zak Frazier at all. I'm really optimistic about him as a prospect. Just love Christian Haynes too much. But with that, do you want to get on to honorable mentions? Anyone you want to talk about?
Well, I just want to honorably mention Zak Frazier as a Charger. Second round, pick 43 overall. Zak Frazier, you will be a Charger. Calling that right now. You love to see it.
That was pretty funny. I like you. I like you calling your shot. I don't know about that. We'll see. We'll see. I think you might be a Bronco.
But yeah, honorable mentions. Cedric Van Pran, center from Georgia, a prospect I really like. I know a guy who I'll probably let you talk a little bit more about, but Cooper Beebe, guard from Kansas State, really like him again. And as a sleeper guy, because I don't know, I really love the center prospects this year. But Hunter Norzad, center from Penn State, a guy who's going to be a later round pick, maybe 6th, 7th, undrafted, but a prospect that I really like that has a lot of potential too.
Yeah, so interior offensive lineman wise, there's 3 guys I really wanted to talk about that I'm kind of sad I didn't get to. And yeah, you mentioned Cooper Beebe. Obviously, he's my number 6. I was really sad I didn't get to talk about him. But yeah, his PFF splits are just insane. The last 3 years, 2021, he had an 85.4 grade, 2022 was 80.5, and this year was 83.9. He had a 90.4 pass block grade. He's just incredibly well like graded, and he's a really good prospect. Christian Mahogany is someone who is a 5-star recruit, insane looking recruit, insanely looking lineman. He looks like he was meant to play lineman, and he has injury concerns, but he's insane. And then Mason McCormick, South Dakota State center. I think he's like one of my favorite center prospect in this draft right now. That's definitely not being talked about. I think he's going to be really solid. So like that call out. Any tackles that we didn't talk about? I know Kingsley Suamate out of BYU is someone I really wanted to mention. He is my number 6 tackle, and I think is just going to be a really solid pass protector and can be a star guard if needed.
Yeah, Kingsley is a fun prospect. If you haven't watched him, go watch him. From BYU, a guy that was almost being talked about, I believe, is like almost like first round last year, right?
Like
Coming
top
into the year.
10 coming into the
Yeah,
year.
yeah, super exciting guy. Tyler Guyton, spoke a little bit about him, offensive tackle from Oklahoma. A very raw prospect. Elite measurables, 6'7", 327 pounds, really showed out Mobile. Really, manhandled a lot of the best edge rushers there. Guy like Chris Braswell, did his part. But a guy is probably going to sneak into there the first round as just a high upside player.
Yeah, the most athletic lineman in this class, like by far, is Tyler Guyton, former basketball recruit. So someone's gonna fall in love with him and take that shot in the first round. Sad we couldn't talk about him. Jordan Morgan, love him out of Arizona. Patrick Paul, very clean pass protector, out of Houston, has a brother in the NFL. Love his pass protection set. So anyone else? Dominic Puny can play tackle or guard. I think he's gonna be really good interior offensive lineman actually in the NFL. But anyone else?
One last guy I'll talk about, but Christian Jones, offensive tackle from Texas, a little bit of an older guy. He's played 4 years at Texas, but is a guy that's really improved and gotten better every single year. This year, having a 75.2 overall grade, only giving up 1 sack. But another guy with elite, just solid run blocking 75, pass blocking 78. But a day three guy that could be, intriguing and a solid starter at the next level.
Yeah, and you mentioned Van Pran. Like, there's a lot of these guys I could just see starting, honestly, day one. Like, a lot of these guys we talked about are going to have impacts. So hopefully you tuned in, got some insight on these prospects. Hopefully it was helpful. Stay tuned to the NFL Seekers podcast for all the draft and off-season free agency content coming out. We're going to be grinding it 3 episodes a week. So yeah, anything else?
Like, subscribe, stay tuned. We got the big uglies out of the way. Now we can get to a little bit more sexy positions going forward. I think sneak peek corner next week.
Yeah, we'll plan on corner. If anyone wants to comment what position they like to see, then we can pivot. But yeah, we'll plan on corners next. But thanks for tuning in. Like, comment, subscribe, do all the YouTube things. Peace.
Peace.